Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode. We are very excited to teach you how to save your new magic from ending up in the junk drawer. So I have here with me Mr. Jeff and Mr. Rick. How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
How's it
Save your
going?
magic from being tragic.
Hey, there you go. I like that. We just got back from Rick and I were just at the Tricks convention. So we're doing as much conventions as we can this year, and we noticed obviously there's a whole bunch of influx of new magic. We got Black Friday coming up. There's going to be new magic that everybody's going to be getting. So how do we make sure that it stays out of the junk drawer and it gets some good use?
Mm,
So
that's a
that's
good
what
question. That's a good question.
that's what today's all about. That's what today's all about. So I know that Jeff, you just took a nice trip recently, and you were talking about getting back into a practice routine with your magic, and
Mm.
thought it might be cool for you to share a little thoughts on that. How do you approach getting back into it when you've taken some time off and the schedule's been a little different?
Yeah, tell you because that can be the big thing. Like you want to go take a vacation, you want to take a break, get yourself refreshed, and then you come back and you've got to make your schedule happen. How do you do that? That's kind of tough. I'll give you a recent example. So I took my wife for her birthday down to Mexico. Was it September? So a couple months ago, we took a long extended weekend. You guys, I don't think probably missed me. I think I was here for the live streams on either end. But when I came back from that long vacation, I didn't have any kind of plan in place, and I kind of struggled to get in my routine. Just everything had been going along. It was just a long weekend. It wasn't like a very not even a week. It was a 4-day trip. 'Cause I'm in Texas, not too far away from another country. So we could just jump down there. And when I got back, I was struggling because I went into the vacation behind on work. I came back behind on work, and so it took me a week or so to kind of get back into rhythm. It was just like this vacation. It was refueling. I didn't take my work with me. I went to go and hang out on the beach, but I came back and was right back exhausted. Versus this week, I learned from that. Now that my schedule has been a little busier here in the last few years, as the business has been growing, and you guys have been supporting Copeland Coins. So thank you very much. I came back this time with a plan. And so Monday, for me, yesterday, when I came back from vacation, was just as fulfilling as the week before. The week before was refreshing, and Monday coming back to work was refreshing. Well, what was the difference? I came down off the vacation and came right back into my schedule. Like, so I didn't milk every single last instance of the vacation. I actually went to sleep early Sunday night, and I was able to get back in my early morning routine on Monday morning. So I got my schedule right back in place. And so by protecting my schedule, I was able to amplify everything that's going on around me. So how does that relate? Protect your schedule and figure out, because when you have these interruptions, and you get off schedule, you get off track, how are you going to get back online? Have a plan in place. And so that's going to be the same thing with your magic practice. Find that schedule, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. I'll pass off the mic here, but find that schedule that fits for you, and then figure out how to come into it. Sometimes if you gotta switch tracks, get off of it, have a plan for getting back on, so you're not just this clunky mess like jumping back into it. A train has to anticipate when it's going to get off, change tracks, and when it's going to get back on, because the tracks are stagnant. You can't control, well, you can when you're initially laying them down, maybe in your life, but once you set a schedule, once you have those tracks in place, they're there. It's very difficult to move them and change them. So when you know your Monday is going to come, or your day for practice, your hour, that's kind of set there. So once you find that, abide by that and learn how to slow down and to shift lanes or change tracks, and keep everything status quo. And it'll help you a lot. It'll keep your practice moving. It'll keep your magic moving forward.
I like that because we've mentioned before practice scheduling and how to schedule your practice on a consistent time frame, and you could even think about it, I would think, as like a goal. Like I want to have this trick ready to go in a month or 2 months time, and so how do I work backwards, to get it there? And so that practice schedule is something really interesting and important, because then you're not haphazardly, just doing whatever you feel like in the moment, right? And not
Okay,
getting.
Yeah, I might put you on the spot on this, but you mentioned that before, and you're a big fan of this working backwards. Like, can you
Mhm.
explain what that means to people?
Of course, of course. To me, let me see if I can. Should I put myself in the spot? There we go. Oh my gosh. Working
A
backwards is
new
just.
fab hair, man.
Oh, thanks,
Yep,
man. I
yep, love
appreciate
it.
it. Oh shoot, I lost my hair. No. Um, Working backwards, I think it's just the way that I handle a lot of things in life, and this is just one of them. It's like one of the best ways to accomplish the project and make sure you meet the actual requirements that you need is imagine what it would be the perfect project, right? Scott Robinson, the leader of our Slight Club, he always says, when you're thinking about a magic effect, create a mind movie, right? What do I imagine would be the best possible effect? And then I can work backwards from there. So the same thing with practice, right? How do I want to be able to do this effect? I've seen it performed. I want to be able to perform it that way as good as I saw in the video. And now how do I need to what slides do I need to work on? What do I need to practice with patter and presentation? How do I need to present it for friends and family ahead of time to kind of get some practice in. So that's kind of how I hope that helps. But that's kind of how I think about working backwards. Is that kind of what you meant, Jeff?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you've just mentioned it several times when we're talking conversation, like you see the end goal in mind and then deconstructing it to see, well, this is where I'm at right now, or, this is where I want to be. And so what you can, yeah, decipher the steps, kind of like you're saying there. So,
And Shiloh pointed out a good point with regard to that. He said, like the motivational speaker said, begin with the end in mind.
mhm.
And that's good because it keeps you definitely on track in that way. And so, as far as that goes, when we have so much to practice, so much magic, and then we bring in new things, let's talk about how we can make sure that everything kind of gets its place, that we don't accidentally start pushing things to the drawer and we don't feel overwhelmed because there's too much, right? Um, so I'd love to hear what you guys say. I'll say one quick point about it that is really cool. Share a tip here. Michael Skinner, um, if you don't know, legend in magic,
Legend.
look up some of his material. He's got some performance videos on YouTube. Michael Skinner used to treat his magic. He had a working repertoire of probably hundreds of tricks,
Yeah.
and I'm saying working repertoire, like he could do them on the spot, hundreds of tricks.
Mhm.
And the way he would practice, he treated each trick like a jewel in a jewelry box. So every once in a while, he would pull the trick out, polish it off, and set it back in the jewelry box. And so he had lists of his tricks, and every day of his practice schedule, he would have a specific time set aside to practice. And so he would decide he'd pick up two, three, maybe four tricks from that list, pull them out, practice them, polish them off, and then put them back. And then the next day, three or four new ones. So he's not practicing the same thing every single day. He's just keeping it fresh, keeping it new, and making sure everything kind of gets worked into the schedule. You guys have anything similar that you do or any thoughts you've ever heard on regarding that kind of, practicing?
Well, a long time ago, a friend of mine, kind of mentor of mine, uh, this is when I was trying to learn more card magic and stuff, and he was a fantastic card magician. Uh, and this probably isn't original with him, but he would take an old deck of cards, and on the back or the face, or you could write on the back and the face, just the name of a routine. So here I'd put ambitious card, and then maybe on the face I would do, the visitor from Larry Jennings, and then go to the next card. List all the tricks you know, everything you can think of, and it doesn't have to be card tricks. You're going to use the deck as like flashcards. So you're going to give that deck a good shuffle. There's tricks written on the backs and the faces. You're going to shuffle that deck, cut it, and then look at the top card. And then you're going to practice that trick for the next 15-20 minutes. Then give the deck a cut. Take the top card, look at that. What is that trick? And you're going to practice that for the next 15-20 minutes. And that was a good way to there's that feeling you have when you're on the spot in front of people and you sort of blank out. Even though you've practiced all this stuff, there's that moment where you're like, man, what should I do? What should I do? So this kind of helps you overcome that, because you don't know what trick is about to show up. You cut that deck and you just look. Boom, you're going to do that trick right now. So when you're in the moment at a gathering, at a party, or what have you, things will come to you better, and you'll be ready on the spot. And that's just a little method to make practice more fun, and like, because practice can get tiring, like if you have the same regiment, like, all right, I'm gonna do such and such, every day for this amount of time, and then I'm gonna do this thing for this amount of time. This gives you that variety, and it's kind of like a surprise element for yourself. Like, all right, let's do this.
So you could
And
even
it forces you to,
yeah. I was gonna say you could even deal yourself a hand, and then you have to put them in the right order to perform them, or like.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I've done that exercise myself, and I had a deck where I wrote my routines on the back, just like you said, Rick. We must have heard from a similar guy or something. Arthur says that sounds like a Fitzke exercise, like Daryl Fitzke's books, which are also legendary. And one of the things I liked about that exercise is you can pull out like 3 cards. You don't know which 3 routines are going to show up, but like, let me imagine these were a set, and how would I transition from one to the next one? And it might not be the right trick to transition to, but you'll learn that over time. Like, okay, these are my tools, and which ones go well after which ones, and which ones are good openers, which ones are good middlers, which ones are good closers. You'll learn that by just practicing it. Just like Rick is saying, just deal yourself some cards. Jeff has said the same thing. Deal yourself a hand and just do those routines back to back and see what happens,
Yeah, I would say, just even to begin with, the very first thing Rick pointed out, a great exercise is just write down all the routines you know. That's exercise in itself that'd be very beneficial to jog your memory, jog your mind. Say, oh yeah, I remember that one. And as you've got this new material that you're trying to work in, you need its right accompaniments. You need its right dance partners. You need its teammates. As you've got these new tricks and material that you might be stocking up here come Black Friday on the sales that are potentially happening at couplandcoins.com. You can have the right teammates, and that's part of it. That's that chemistry is part of we just watched, maybe some of you, maybe just me, I don't know, we're on a Magic channel here, watch the World Series, and you see the teams that go deep in the season, they have the right chemistry, and they have the players that bat in the correct order, and those things matter, like how they integrate to each other. And so it's good to just have a list of what you've got and what you have holes in your lineup that you need to fulfill, and the things that you need to get in there. Maybe it's a new coin trick or coin box or something like that.
Of course. Go ahead. Sorry, you gonna say something, Rick?
Just agreeing completely, and it kind of ties into the topic today. Like, when you've established this stuff for yourself, like what you know, or not just what you know, but like what you want to practice. Then when you see new stuff coming out, or maybe you're at a convention, like we were just at a convention, and you're walking around and you see this new stuff, this flashy stuff on the tables, you kind of prevent yourself from impulse buying, where like you see this item and you ask yourself, is that going to fit into what I'm doing now? Or is it just something I like in the moment? And when I get home and play with it 3 days later, am I going to regret getting this? Because that's the kind of stuff that ends up in your drawer. So personally, I try to look for stuff that's going to be better than something I already do. So a similar thing, but it's going to be better than what I already do. Or it's a thing that's going to go right along with something I already do. So it's easy to get attracted to new, cool stuff. But if you can't think of a way that you're going to use it immediately, either tag it on to something you're doing or replace it with something you're doing, it has the potential to end up in that junk drawer.
Yeah, I mean, I have a huge ambition to not let us produce or release stuff that will compete with your repertoire in that way. I mean, that's what we've all been there with those regrets, I think, Rick, and so that's why we work really hard to create products that won't do that, or that have long lasting shelf lives, that that they're paying dividends long after the purchase, that you can use for years and years to come.
Sure.
So
And there's a
yeah.
couple ways to think about that too, because when I was there at the convention with you, Rick, because I think everybody approaches buying magic a little differently, maybe, but
Sure.
one of the ways to think about it is, okay, how am I going to incorporate? I like what you said about it's going to make what I'm doing better. And then another way to think about it is kind of like, okay, I like this concept. How would I work it into my repertoire? And by practicing, like you're saying, with the cards, like your routines over and over, you know where you're lacking in your routine. Maybe man, it would be cool to have something like that because I have nothing like that in my repertoire. Or it'd be cool to I have something similar and this would be a different way to go about it. Arthur mentions here another way to think about it is this effect going to be a new principle or a new idea that makes it worth buying so that I can incorporate that new idea into my magic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree with that completely, Arthur. I mean,
mhm.
and I would say, like, as long as I get one thing out of each purchase, and it doesn't have to be the initial thing that I bought it for, as long as I learn one thing from each purchase, I consider it a success. Because once I have that knowledge in here, then I mean that's priceless at this point, because I can apply that to every principle. If I got it from the Copeland Coins website, I can now apply some of those principles to my card magic, because there's things that cross over. And so that's where, I mean, I always look for at least that one thing. If I get more than one like magic moment or one principle or idea from each effect that I've ever purchased, then that's bonus. So
Absolutely.
that's the way I look at it.
And Rick, regarding Recoil that you just released with us, a new routine you just released, um, I'm sure that because you showed a video before where you were playing with sponge balls and Spellbound, and you were playing with different types of Spellbounds, and so it's like over time you purchased Spellbound routines and sponge balls and different objects, and it's like over time you built that until one day you came up with the idea for Recoil, right?
Yeah. And I mean, well, one thing I forgot to mention in there was books. And for me, that's a hard thing to resist, because you may know of one or a number of routines or things that will be in this book. But then there's this thought of like, oh, what other cool things are in that book? And so a book, unlike a set of coins or a new gimmicked deck or trick, a book is like, it can sit on your shelf and you don't feel as guilty about it. It sits
It's
on the
decoration,
bookshelf.
decor.
And then like, and then you're gonna go back to that book like in years to come. So like, well, you mentioned Recoil, so like, I can't remember all the little, progress point, the touchstones along the way, but a lot of that stuff came from books that I acquired over the years, and I picked up a new piece of knowledge or a new idea. And so, yeah, it comes from new products you might see, and you get those, but also the books. Don't forget about books. Like that can change and shape your repertoire.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Hey, and that might be why all Copeland Coins products come with a book.
I mean,
All our products, all our digital downloads, self-produced, come with the ebook, because we can get in some of those little details. Very concise. That was some of the dream of the Dave system that we have. It doesn't go on a shelf. We have not solved that yet with the digital product, but our coin albums do. A lot of those. That's why they were designed. The Treasure and Riame was designed to amplify your magic collection. So a lot of
But
those
we
thoughts
may-
are in here.
we may have a physical book of some kind coming up. That's all I'm going to say. What were you
I
going to say?
just thought of this weekend at the convention. I was trying to take every opportunity I could to like talk to or just be around in the group with Garrett Thomas because he was one of the lecturers there.
Yeah.
And so we were in the lobby, like a group of us, and I love his banded effect, the ring. And he sells that at the table with a certain ring and along with Opus, a ring and coin thing. But he himself has a Morgan dollar ring. And I just asked him, hey Garrett, what do you recommend any specific ring maker? Because there's dozens and dozens out there. Like, where did you get yours made? And he said, I might have an extra one. And he rummages through his bag and in fact had an extra Morgan dollar ring and the other little something you need for the routine. And man, I was tempted right there to buy that because it was from the man himself and it was a real coin ring.
Yeah.
And then something in me said, pause. And I told him, well, let me think about it, because this was like Friday and we still had another day or two with the convention. And then the longer I thought about it, I decided I'm not gonna get that, even though I love it. I love seeing it. I wear a wedding band and I don't take it off. I do some magic with it, but I decided that's not gonna fit in what I do. Even though I love it, I'm not gonna remove my wedding band and wear this other ring so I can do that trick. And so it was that moment of like, is this going to fit in my repertoire? Or first of all, do I like it? Yes. But will it fit what I do? And will it fit in my repertoire? I had to pause there and be honest with myself. And so I ended up not buying it. But I very easily could have.
What's funny is that we're forgetting about you paid for the convention. So by paying for the convention, it's almost like you went and read a book in real life and you saw Garrett show you that. So in the back of your brain will always be that idea of how he used the coin ring, and maybe you'll use that in the future. Maybe you'll get it in the future, right?
Yeah.
It's always about how can we, just like you said, I think it was great what you said, Rick, is how can we pick up little things here and there that will add to our knowledge, add to what we're going to use immediately, and also add to our future tools. How are we going to keep them out of the drawer by using them and thinking about them and working on them,
Yeah. And I have a solution for that. It's right here. It's called Wear Two Rings. It's a very easy solution. And this is the Tiger Tan ring prototype for 2022. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Trying not to say so.
There's a solution for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just looking at the comments here, talking about books, and Ryan says he loves recoil because people's mouths drop.
Oh man, yeah,
that's a good point.
No doubt about it.
And this is a good point. Oliver is from France over here. Thanks for joining us, Oliver. Or Olivier. Learning sleight of hand is also applicable here. Whether it's you're buying a new actual prop, or you're buying a book, like Rick said, or you're buying like a sleight of hand move. These are all things that you can add to your repertoire that will make your magic better and can pay dividends in the future. And it's sleight of hand. I feel like I think about it a little differently, because sometimes you want a specific move that is going to be like a toolbox move, right? Some of the stuff that like we did in Treasure, right? Some of this work on the French drop is like going to be stuff that you can use in all sorts of routines that you're creating, just because it's a foundational type stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
stuff.
Let's see here. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any comments or anything here. Shiloh says he needs a Tiger Tan ring. Let's see. Everyone has a junk drawer. I don't think I'm on
Stay
junk
tuned,
drawers.
Shiloh.
junk drawers can be organized like a
You guys
deck.
all right? I mean, I can tip a little.
interesting.
We've got some neat stuff coming with the ring. So
Yeah. No, yeah. We do have some interesting stuff
Super-
with rings and things like
super
that.
neat stuff coming.
Book rings. We got some cool stuff coming. And I don't see any more questions, but I think that kind of wraps up what we wanted to chat about today. Hopefully, some of these ideas you're catching will inspire you to, pick the stuff up out of the drawer, try the card method, try some of these different things we were talking about with practice and incorporating and thinking about your magic. Oh, one last thing, Rick, Jeff, didn't you say that you were thinking about ways to list out your effects? You keep them on paper, or do you have a note app? Or what
Oh
do you-
yeah. Like I highly recommend yearly going through your repertoire. Like, I mean, if you forget a trick in between years, then maybe it wasn't that good to begin with. But like just keeping your memory fresh. There's along the same lines of what you were talking about with Michael Skinner. Like, he's got this huge repertoire, and so as you get older, it's easier to slip and forget things. So now there are definitely some card magic routines. As I've been in the coin magic business full time here in 5 years, there's definitely some card magic routines that have slipped. And so if I want to perform them, I have to go back and reread or rewatch to just get a quick refresher. And I get that. And so again, that is a little bit of a plug for the Dave. That's part of why we have the system we have, that each purchase of a digital download comes with an ebook. And so you can go back and refresh the photographs and the quick notes in the ebook, and you can have a routine back in your repertoire in minutes. Heck, I can even do that on my own working stuff, because I've got a handful of coin routines out there that don't get to see light every day. They need to be polished too. So that's all I was gonna say with that. But yeah, that kind of ties up.
Great. That's
ties
great.
it up well.
Well, I'll say real quick, stay tuned, because we have on Black Friday, believe it or not, we're going to be bringing in some new products. So we're going to have all sorts of sales and new products. So new things that you can get that are going to be solid, that you're not going to want to put in the junk drawer.
Yeah.
And now we've taught you some ways to make sure that they stay in your practice session in that way. So
Yeah.
if you have
And I'll
any
say
other
that with that as well, like some of the stuff coming out Black Friday is staple stuff that you should have. So it's definitely not junk drawer stuff.
Of course. So if you have any other questions, feel free to add those in the comments below this video, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, guys.
You guys.